Hello again, everyone. We absolutely cannot underestimate the effects that the pandemic and the protests are having on our mental health. Let's talk to Dr. Oz right now about this. Good morning to you, Dr. Oz. I'm glad you're joining us live because we know that you keep a close eye on all of these studies. What do they say about how it's affecting us all?
Well, it's valid to support the cause, but to still feel unhappy. So it's a paradox, right? You try to do the right thing, but you don't feel good about all the destruction. And the protests and the pandemic have impacted the mental health of this entire nation. Looked at 52 studies, 58,000 people total. So per large experience, there was a 7% incidence of major depression, double-digit rates of post-traumatic stress disorder. And so these issues are major, they're massive, they continue to increase. And what are the risk factors? Being a woman, females tend to ruminate in some of these issues, and they sometimes will internalize it as well, paradoxically, because you think it's the guys who don't talk it out. Being a lower socioeconomic class makes a big difference, which is why African Americans will disproportionately feel some of the impact of these. And you guys had a huge demonstration this week, and a lot of the folks who are African American are suffering more than the folks who are white who are at that same event, most likely. And finally, and this is really alarming, social media use, especially if it's frequent, is correlated with not being able to cope as well. In part because you're bombarded with information that's often not that accurate and meant to sensationalize rather than really deal with the deeper issues. So the solution, the antidote, seems to be collective action. Do it together. If you want to march, go march, build bonds there. This collective cathartic experience has always helped humans cope with times of strife. This will not be the last time we're in difficulty. So develop those tactics that will work for you. Build cohesion, social cohesion. Be the safety net for each other.
And Dr. Oz, I think it gets even more complicated for somebody who might feel like they have to stay home because they're concerned about their health, if they have underlying health issues and can't get with the crowds. What do you suggest they do if they're feeling really helpless right now because they want to be part of a movement, but they just have to stay home?
Well, first off, call your family and friends and talk through it, and especially call people you might not know to see where they are. I mean, I got to say, and I think white folks ought to be calling African Americans and saying, help me make sense out of this. Help me work through what you're experiencing in ways that maybe I haven't appreciated because they're blind spots. That actually, in a impactful way, is uplifting because you feel improved. You feel like you're actually, in some ways, trying to be supported because now you understand the issues more. Physical activity, hugely beneficial. It's one of the reasons the protest might be good for you to you get out. But go out and let your body take over, let your mind take a little bit of a rest. Carbohydrates, I hate to admit it, do work. Not the best solution, but food is sometimes impactful. But I got to say, and this is on a serious note, if you're struggling with this, and I just gave you data, alarming data, that's going to be a lot of depression, a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder, get professional help. It works. It can be incredibly beneficial. And if your bizarre behaviors that you don't understand are called out by friends and family, think about that possibility that you've got one of these emotional conditions that's a normal reaction. Treat it.